Is another Tiger Woods scandal brewing? Well, he's terrified it might. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor. So excited to have Christopher Melcher back here. How you doing, Chris?
Great, Andy. It's good to be back on the show.
It's always the most interesting, problematic stories we have to go through. But here it is. Tiger Woods is feeling the shakedown from his ex, Erica Herman. Now, you had sort of sent this over to me, and I was sort of looking more into it. And yeah, this is a fascinating story. For those that forget, Tiger Woods already obviously has gotten through a massive scandal, and it would seem is finally, back in the graces of the public, back on the, golfing and doing what he does. People are moving on with their lives. He seems to be moving on with his life and his family. However, he got into a relationship with one of his employees, this woman, Erica Herman, and then kicked her out of their house, allegedly, which now she's saying, I'm going to sue you for it. She's now also threatening to break the NDA they've signed, and it seems like Tiger Woods is terrified. Can you break down sort of this lawsuit? I guess let's start there. This lawsuit that's been filed by his ex and why this might be stressing out Tiger Woods?
Sure. So there's a lot going on in this story, and you're not going to see it if you just look at these headlines. It's much more nuanced than this. And there's no necessarily a clear villain or victim in it. So where this starts is in 2017, Erica is, from my understanding, working at a restaurant that Tiger Woods had. I think it was like a pop-up restaurant in Florida. She is there in some kind of capacity as an employee of his at that restaurant. And then at the outset of the relationship there, I guess the employment relationship, there's an NDA signed. And then the employment relationship somehow converts into a romantic relationship. Apparently she stops working for him and then is a girlfriend of his. And this is maybe in around 2017, 2018. I'm trying to get that timeline right. So sorry, I don't have dates and maybe the facts exactly right. From what I can piece together, starts as an employment relationship, converts to a romantic relationship. There's a non-disclosure agreement. So it's saying like, hey, Erica, you can't say anything disparaging about Tiger or that reveals personal information important that's done at the outset of whatever relationship that they had before anything bad or wrongful happened. And then somehow, like I say, converts into a romantic relationship. They're together as a couple for many years. They're living together at the home of Tiger in Florida that's owned by his trust. And then there's a breakup. And when the breakup occurred, he wanted her out of his house, and that's pretty natural occurrence or expectation that she would leave. She doesn't own his house.
Right.
And they're never married. And she says that she was basically tricked into leaving, that I guess right
they told
around
her to
the
pick
end
up
of the
a suitcase or something, right? I'll go on a private trip, and then she was told she was locked out.
Yeah, oldest trick in the book. And then so she's now, locked out of the house. She's upset. And so she's filed a lawsuit against him. And the only legal claim that she's making for like damages or money or relief is seeking a right to live in his house. She says that there was an oral agreement between the two of them during the relationship that she would have the right to live there, for all these years. And so she's saying there's 5 more years left on the deal, and she wants, $30 million for the value of whatever, probably the rental value of this house for the next 5 years. That is honestly, it's a ridiculous claim. Even if he had said, like, you'll always live here, or I want you to live here, you cannot make a claim, at least successfully, for the right to live in somebody's house unless it's in writing, especially if it's over a year. We have a thing called the statute of frauds in the law in all over the U.S. that says if you have a deal regarding real estate, it's got to be in writing. Absent extraordinary circumstances, if it's not in writing, it's not enforceable. There's nothing in writing here. And it wouldn't even make sense that he would promise her to saying, if we broke up, you can continue living in my house for 5 years. That
Doesn't
makes
make any sense.
zero sense.
Well, it doesn't make sense, but that you're saying that's the thing. But then where things are getting interesting is she's now also complaining to ask for her NDA agreement to be removed, which she signed in 2017, citing this law that allows NDAs to be nullified in cases of SA. However, she's not made any of those allegations. I mean, when I see this, it does start feeling like a shakedown of like, whoa, you're not going to give me this house? Well, I want the NDA removed, which I should be able to have because, of cases of SA, but does that make sense? Don't NDAs allow, even if you've signed an NDA, if you have SA accusation, you can still sue your employer for that, and the NDA would be then null and void?
Yeah, this is super important to get to understand here. So so obviously there's a really bad history of non-disclosure agreements being used to stifle victims and to allow these perpetrators to then victimize other people. So this is a real thing where we've seen, Harvey Weinstein.
Not to interrupt, it just echoed her now, Rachel Uchitel, the old mistress of Tiger Woods, is claiming happened, right? Where she's like, I was forced into signing this and cover things up, is sort of an example of this, no?
Yeah, her, and I want to talk about and compare and contrast there because she's made some really good comments about what she experienced under her NDA. Different situation. Rachel signed an NDA after she had an affair with Tiger to cover up the affair. So this was an NDA done to cover up the affair, or at least keep it secret after the conduct occurred. With the other lady, Erica, the NDA was signed at the outset of the relationship before anything bad happened. What Rachel's experience was the former mistress who signed this thing was saying, look, she signed this NDA brokered by Gloria Allred, of no other person, brokers this NDA for her. And then Rachel, again, the other lady, was saying that she was basically subjected to a lot of claims in the media. We don't know if it was Tiger himself or leaking these things, but she was subjected to a lot of claims. And she tried to defend herself saying, hey, that didn't happen. And then she would get sued by Tiger and it basically bankrupted her. And so it put her in a horrible position. But what Rachel's saying is, hey, her situation was her situation. She is in no way comparing it to Erica's situation, the one that's currently suing. So some pretty good comments actually by Rachel. But again, that situation's different.
Right. And just to echo that again, Rachel was paid to cover up, whereas Erica was paid before anything would have even happened. And so this was paid, which, look, it makes sense. Celebrities like Tiger Woods, who's been through this huge scandal, it almost destroyed his career, right? With these mistresses coming forward and the affairs. He wants to keep his private life private. And so he's asking, I guess, his employee, was this signed as an employee? Do we know the NDA that Erica was forced to sign?
Well, okay, so Erica wasn't forced to sign anything, and Erica claims that she was an employee in August of 2017 when she signed the NDA. And so she, and I haven't verified this, but Erica is claiming that at the outset of the relationship, when she was an employee, before anything bad happened, she signed an NDA as part of her kind of standard onboard as an employee. So she wasn't forced to do it. She wasn't paid to do it. There wasn't anything wrong going on when it happened, completely different than the Rachel situation. And the takeaway from Rachel's story is like, hey, be careful what you sign, because you could wind up in a position where you can't speak and you're going to be attacked in the media. You can't defend yourself without being sued. And it's a really bad position to be in. And honestly, that's the position that Erica is in now, the lady that's suing currently, because Tiger can just go leak whatever stories he wants to about Erica. And if Erica fights back, she's going to get sued for violating the NDA. Now, again, different situation, because Erica is the one who's came out first. She's made this, I think, a silly and extraordinarily weak claim of ownership or right to possession of his home. So she came out publicly and did this. And now she's saying that she wants the NDA invalidated. The problem with her claim of invalidating the NDA is she's going under this federal law called the Speak Out Act. And what that law says is that if someone is making a claim of SA or harassment in the workplace, that any non-disclosure agreement is unenforceable in that action. Well, she is not making such a claim. The only lawsuit that she's filed against Tiger is to live in his house for 5 years. And that is not based on any employment relationship had. That is based on their romantic relationship.
Right.
So she's trying to go under an act that doesn't apply to her. At least as of this date, she hasn't filed a claim of harassment against him. And therefore, that law just doesn't apply. And so what she's really trying to do is saying, like, you know, hey, I'm going to make these claims against Tiger. You know, hold him up for.
To be fair, she hasn't even really made any claims. She's just saying she got kicked out of her house as of now, right?
Yeah, so she's claiming she was, you know, tricked into leaving the house and locked out. There's some kind of claim about $40,000 that, you know, I'm not sure what the basis of that one is, but she's basically saying, hey, I was wronged and I want to right. And she obviously wants to say a lot more and wants to get the NDA lifted so she can talk about him, because if she doesn't get that NDA lifted, she is going to be in a lot of litigation and potentially have damages assessed against her by Tiger. Now, again, if she was suing for harassment,
right,
then I would say, okay, that NDA for purposes of that lawsuit vanishes and she could say whatever she wants to on those claims in that lawsuit. However, she is not suing for that. She was suing for the right to live in a former boyfriend's house for 5 years. And so the NDA is in effect as to that claim. And again, it's just up to her. Maybe she does go around and sue for harassment right now. But, you know, she's trying to, it's, you know, round peg and square, whatever that expression is. She's mixing, you know, mixing these concepts and basically trying to go out there and say that. Now, having said that, so I think legally she's wrong. She has no right to live in his house for 5 years. It's a ridiculous lawsuit. I think the NDA holds because she doesn't fit within the Speak Out Act. So I think legally she's wrong, but I have zero sympathy for Tiger Woods because this guy is getting into these problems over and over again. There's a pattern here, and he should know better. He should not be having a romantic relationship with an employee. That's off limits. And how many of these stories do we have to see? And he is the common denominator in all of them. So I have no sympathy for him whatsoever.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like I hear that. It's like, but at the same time, I'm still confused. Like, well, what happened? Like, they clearly I agree wholeheartedly. He put himself in this problem by dating this employee, which complicates matters. But when I read this and even realized that she was an employee, it just felt like it was an ex who is now getting kicked out of the mansion, who's now going to go get upset when they're not even married. There's a little bit of that I feel for, of just like, well, it's not your mansion. It's Tiger Woods' mansion. So, you know, I can see where that's coming from, but the employee part of it definitely adds a wrinkle to this, which clearly, do you think that's why this press is the way it is? Do you think this is Tiger's team trying to lift this up as Shakedown and all this stuff to try to help mask that? Do you think there is some potential PR spin?
Yeah, I mean, I do see a shakedown element to it. And sure, everyone's going to spin it on each side. She's trying to get this mantle of, you know, victimhood under the Speak Out Act, even though she, again, is not making a harassment claim at the moment. He is trying to come out and saying, hey, you know, this is just a shakedown by a bitter, you know, former girlfriend. And, you know, and it's like I say, however that relationship ended, we don't know all these details.
Right.
But for her to say, like, hey, I want to live in this guy's house for 5 years, and that's the only thing she's suing for at the moment, that you know, and then with the threat of saying, hey, I want to talk about the relationship, I think that does validate what Tiger's saying, in the sense that, you know, hey, they had an agreement that there wouldn't be any disclosure of information. She now wants to disclose that information, and he wants to keep it quiet. I get that. But again,
right. Well, people's
we'll
relationships should be private. It's like, unless he is abusive and doing these things to her, yeah, it's like, it is weird, because we saw that a lot of his people he was having affairs with getting paid for by the magazines to come do exclusives to expose him further. Yeah, I mean, I don't support that either. I think it's all gross. Not to and giving him a pass, but it's just the seedy world of all this tabloid press, right? But yeah, it's hard to not see that. Is It's interesting. I guess we'll know with Erica's next actions whether is she actually a victim? Like, does she come forward with actual allegations that make this more warranted? Or does this seem like a quick cash grab to try to get something as the relationship went sour? Yeah, I mean, any other thoughts you want to offer before we wrap this up?
Well, I just kind of think like if any of that was there, why didn't she come out and sue? I mean, she has lawyers. She's filed now 2 actions, one to, have the right to live in his house for 5 years and the other to get rid of the NDA. If she had claims for like if he did something bad to her, why didn't she sue for those things? The NDA does not stop her from suing. And if she were to sue for those bad things, the NDA by federal law doesn't apply. So that I would question, like, if you're already talking to lawyers and you're already in court suing the guy, if you had more, why wouldn't you bring it?
That's a good point because, again, as Rachel Uchitel is saying, like, she was pressured in this before that law, I guess, changed. But now, while people are trying to paint NDAs as always bad, no, an NDA sure can protect the privacy of a celebrity or somebody, and the party signing it has the choice to sign it or not. At the end of the day, if there is abuse in that relationship or something, they still have a right to sue, and the NDA doesn't cover that up. That is an important adjustment that's now in existence, right? So as anybody signing these relationships, it doesn't matter if they're abused by the partner, the victim can then go to the court of law. That's an important distinction to put here.
Yeah, absolutely. No one is saying that if Erica were suing for harassment, that this NDA would in any way keep her from talking. That's federal law. It's as clear as could be. At least as of late last year when this act went into effect, and we may see, like tomorrow or something, her suing for harassment, and then fine, she can speak out all she wants, but she has not sued for harassment. Now, the NDA, I understand it has been abused and it has been used to keep people from talking. And so now this bad actor can go out there and hurt other people. So we've seen an actual history of these things being used to hurt people. But, if you zoom out of that for a second and look just at the regular celebrity or high profile figure that wants to find somebody to be in a relationship with, romantic relationship, these NDAs are common. I see these all the time in my job, because it's like, how do you operate? Again, if you're just trying to date and you're a legitimate person and you're not trying to hurt anybody.
Or I think of the nanny of Olivia Wilde and Jason Sudeikis. Like, how dare that nanny come forward and reveal all those private details about the relationship, where it's like, you should hope that the person watching your own child is protecting the privacy of that family's home. And then she's out there allegedly doing interviews and stuff. So, I mean, NDAs should mean something for privacy of families as long as there's not actual hurting or harassing. Agreed. But it does sound like now it's important to make that distinction because I think people don't realize, and I even myself fully understand it, that new law has adjusted that so that now victims can be more protected even if they've signed an NDA.
Yeah, in the circumstance where there's harassment, but you can't say like, hey, I was a nanny and I felt that, I wasn't treated fairly, so now I want to talk out. Or I was a former, romantic partner and I don't like the way the relationship ended. Nothing bad happened or illegal happened, but I'm just unhappy with the relationship ending and I want to talk. No, there's no right to do that. And so, but the problem is that these are just pieces of paper. Yes, it's a contract. Yes, he can go to court. Yes, he can get a lawsuit filed against her and maybe a judgment against her. But does she have any assets? So to get these really to be effective, there should be structured with payments. That's what Mel Gibson did. Not a great example here, but in Mel Gibson, when he had a breakup and there were DV allegations and maybe things happen. And he made a deal with this former partner, and with an NDA, she went on Howard Stern. She talked. He sued her, and but there were payments under that NDA for each year that she didn't talk, and so she ended up losing the right to those future payments by going out and talking. This was all well before the Speak Out Act. But that's the thing is that if you do an NDA as a celeb with a prospective romantic partner or a nanny or something like that, okay, fine, they bound themselves not to talk, but they can just go out and talk and get more money from a tabloid. Who cares about the lawsuit? They don't have any money anyway, potentially. So some of these, and what I'm advising my clients is to have some consideration, some payments being made. So at least there's an exchange. It's like, hey, this person is agreeing not to reveal details and they're getting paid not to reveal details. But again, not in any way in a context of any illegal conduct or harassment or any kind of bad conduct. It's just like, hey, we're boyfriend, girlfriend, it didn't work out.
Yeah,
right of privacy without trying to hide anything or anything. It's just like, hey, our relationship didn't work out. Let's just keep it between us. Nothing illegal or bad happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sad we live in a world where all privacy is just exposed just because they want some clicks, but it happens. And Tiger Woods had an experience. So overall, yeah, it sounds like this could be a shakedown. It could, but Tiger's still a dummy for hooking up with his employee, which definitely complicates this whole matter, and he should know better. Appreciate that intro, all that insight, Christopher. Guys, make sure if you're not following Christopher over on Twitter, go to CA_divorce and follow him as he gets you all the insight he can. And yeah, if you got any other comments, topics you want us to do these analyses on, we're going to be doing these more often. Hopefully some evergreen ones, looking up old legal cases. I'd love to see your comment suggestions of what would you love to see me ask Christopher about, because I feel like I'm the dummy. He's the expert. I love when we get together and can actually clarify things for you. So leave the suggestions down below. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for all alerts, smash that thumbs up, like button. And again, give us your suggestion of legal cases, new or old, that you'd love for us to clarify for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet.